We're continuing on in this module entitled Evangelism. And this video explores a topic that many people tell me is an area they struggle with, being open and authentic about our faith at work. I myself have struggled with this. Let me tell you about one particular instance. A few years ago, at the height of my career as a consultant and corporate keynote speaker on brand building, I was invited to attend a TED-style business conference. There were about 80 folks there, and it was supposed to be an intimate event. So on the first morning, the organizer asked each person to introduce themselves and share their answer to the question, "What's the most important decision you've made in your life?" The most important decision I've made in my life. Wow. Okay. Well, of course, that would be my decision to give my life to Christ. But did I really want to share that with a bunch of strangers at a business event? Did I really want that to be the first thing I said to all these people that I was trying to impress? I mean, up until that time, I had been working kind of in the closet as a Christian, not really openly identifying as a Christ follower at work. Now, some of my closest colleagues knew about my faith, but I generally kept it a private matter. Well, fortunately, the sharing at this conference started at the other end of the room. But as people were standing up, talking about their decisions to move to a new city or to change careers, I'm having this raging debate in my head about what am I going to say? There's a little angel, a little devil on my shoulders. You have to tell the truth. You can't handle the truth. I think I might have been visibly shaking and turning red. Well, in a moment, I'll tell you what I said. But first, I want you to consider if you can relate to what I was feeling. Maybe you avoid being open and authentic about your faith. Maybe you're like many other folks I've met who are afraid to be public about their faith. Now, to be clear, we know we aren't to be ashamed of the gospel. And we do want to bring our whole true selves to work, as they say. But it seems that perceptions of Christians are so negative these days, particularly in the Bay Area, that if people knew the truth about us, they would make assumptions about our intelligence or our politics or our motives. And we think that would damage our careers and reputations and relationships. So we kind of hide our identity as Christians, but then we end up feeling guilty or stressed or at least a little conflicted. It doesn't have to be this way. Instead, we can embrace the truth that living out our authentic selves at work can be one of the greatest blessings to God, to the people we work with, and to us. But first, we need to address some incorrect and limiting mindsets that we hold. First, we might question whether it's appropriate or even ethical to share our faith with others without considering the issue through the lens of love as our motivation. We might assume that talking about our faith at work is illegal. It isn't. Or against company policy, which it's not at the vast majority of companies. We might think we're making ourselves more likable if we hide our faith from others, but it's actually more likely that we're creating a barrier between ourselves and them. People want to know who we really are. They want us to be authentic. And if we hope to have meaningful relationships with people at work, we must be true to ourselves and open to others. We also need to confess that we choose to hide our truth because of our idols. Many of us idolize respect, approval, acceptance. We think these things are so important, we must have them in addition to God, and we look to them to deliver the significance and security that only the real God can give. So we do whatever it takes to get them, like concealing our true identity. One more mindset that holds us back is a risk-benefit analysis, meaning we weigh the perceived risks of sharing our faith against the perceived benefits. And we think about all the potential negative consequences that could arise, and we don't see any upside. So we hide our true faith. But we must renew our minds, as it says in Romans 12. And see that there's so much more to gain than to lose. We must see that living openly, authentically at work can be one of the greatest blessings to God, to the people we work with, and to ourselves. So let me break that down. First, we bless the Lord. We often think about blessings as something that God gives us, but we actually can and should bless Him. To bless the Lord means to praise, exalt, and worship Him. And that's exactly what we do when we live and work with openness and authenticity. By embracing who God created us to be, we bring glory to Him. We also bless our coworkers when we are open and honest with them about our faith. Think about it. Why have meditation, retreats, pilgrimages also become so popular these days? People today are looking for an explanation for life. They're looking for meaning and purpose, for relief from anxiety, for hope, healing, joy. According to the Barna Group, 75% of people are looking for ways to live a more meaningful life. Doesn't that suggest they would welcome knowing about something, or rather someone, who brings about real change in their lives? We as Christians have nothing short of the greatest meaning, power, and joy in this world, and we shouldn't withhold that tremendous blessing from the people we work with. And what about blessing ourselves? When we live out our authentic selves at work, we experience the blessing of the true freedom of discipleship, as it says in John 8:31-32. God releases us from the bondage of idols that cause us to fear or hide, and we can talk, act, work, and live free. What's more, we experience the kind of peace that comes only from living with full and true integrity, the kind of undivided heart that David pleaded for in Psalm 86. So how do we enable all these blessings? We tap into the truth of the gospel. We remind ourselves that through Jesus, God has already made us a new creation. So we're no longer slaves to the old mindsets that can hold us back from identifying as a Christian at work. And we can embrace the new identity that He has given us as His beloved children. So we're free from idolizing others' respect or approval. And we can be confident in who we are. And then we unleash Christ's transforming power in our lives through humility and courage. You know, humility is not thinking less of yourself, but thinking of yourself less, as the saying goes. Instead of being so consumed with ourselves and what others are going to think of us, we ought to focus on the people around us and the call to love and serve them. When we humbly orient ourselves to others, it becomes clear how important it is to be real and truthful about who we are. And courage. You know, I found that courage isn't the absence of fear. It's moving forward in the presence of fear. So even if we take just a small step forward and trust in what the Lord will do, He will reward us with more blessing than we can imagine. And that's exactly what happened to me at the conference. When it finally came time for me to share, I felt convicted to talk about my faith. So I stood up, blurted out that my most important decision in life was to become a Christian, and then I sat down and waited for reactions. But it turned out to be no big deal. People didn't treat me any differently afterwards or whisper things behind my back, or if they did, I didn't notice and I didn't care. I felt like I'd honored God and I knew He was pleased. I felt relieved and free. Plus, several people approached me afterwards privately saying that they had wanted to share their decision to become a Christian the way I had, but had been too afraid. Now they felt emboldened to be more transparent in the future. And I did too. That incident taught me that being open and authentic at work holds the potential for so many benefits, including and especially the opportunity to become a life-giving resource to our coworkers, because we share with them and give to them out of our true selves and God's love for them. I hope this has been an encouragement to you and makes you more interested in sharing your faith at work.